What is up, DTube? What is up, the Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about decentralized exchanges and why I think 2019 is going to be a huge year for decentralized exchanges. So first of all, what is decentralized exchanges? So at 2017, we usually forget how short time we've had access to exchanges and crypto, especially on a real competitive basis, that there has been a lot of places you have access to exchange digital currency. It's very easy to forget how young this market is. So 2017 late, when prices went up a lot, to get access to an exchange, it was pretty complicated. It was pretty complicated. It could take months. It could take even up to 90 days on some places, I think I saw. So what's going to happen is, right now most exchanges are centralized, but it's going to move towards more decentralized exchanges, as we're seeing with the VEET Decentralized Beta Exchange is going to launch in May. Binance just launched their, I think, either mainnet or testnet, but a DEX, which I think stands for Decentralized Exchange. They have launched at least a testing place where you could try it out. And the key aspects of this, what I think at least is going to happen, is basically they're trying to make it so anyone can get access to get into this industry. And when you create that effect, where someone just can create an account in seconds, what you create is you get millions of or billions of people soon eventually can have easy access to a lot of new markets that they never had access to in the past. And this is kind of a big deal. So we're trying to shift towards every second that you can save in, on a person, if they want to do trade or whatever, if you can make it so they can do that in a second, compared to right now it can take around 2 to 3 minutes to get into the game. And you can sort of compare it to, let's imagine you went to a website and it took 2 to 3 minutes to load a website. Would that make you inspired to explore that dimension or that place or that exchange? No. But if you speed everything up, just a few seconds or a few minutes, you open up the whole industry to whole new markets. That how it works right now is mainstream people, they don't have access to any of this. They don't have access to any of these new markets because it's not hard to get in. I mean, it's getting easier, but it's still pretty scary for a person. But as this industry opens up more and more, technology goes down in price, internet goes down in price, apps, we start to get, as we get more open source apps, the whole industry is going to open up more and more for people to get inside. And that is fascinating. When you can do everything from your phone, and maybe even have your own decentralized app, decentralized exchanges, decentralized tokens, decentralized friends. When you create all of that, and maybe even soon decentralized hardware, that is fascinating. That's fascinating because that's truly when human genius is going to rise. Because we have been so restricted for thousands of years. Human genius has been restricted, mainly because survival has been so difficult. It's been so difficult. So it gets quite interesting when you open it up, when you open all of this up. So 2019 is really going to be the start of more decentralized exchanges. I think we already have had a few of them. I think BitShares is... So I sort of lost my train of thought there because a person came. But yeah, I think I was talking a little bit about that. Yeah, our survival has been sort of difficult, and it's been taking a lot to get the basic resources. But what happens is when people have more free time over, they can focus on what I would like to call research and development. That is, what I mean is when a person has a smartphone or they have a device, they have access to the internet, they can spend most of their time not doing physical stuff, but just observing stuff, observing technology, observing the world, observing sort of what is going on with technology, and sort of observing where things are going. And then a person can do most of the research and development and every person can do a little bit of work. And it's basically, in a way, decentralized research and development in how back in the days it was just big companies that sort of did research and development. They got profits in, and then they sort of look at, okay, how can we do something better? That was something that regular people did not have that much time to do, because there was always someone coming telling you, do this, do that, you need to go to a job tomorrow, so you don't have any time over. But we sort of started to see that change more and more, and it's just going to keep on going, because if you give momentum to that place, if you give momentum to people doing their own research, it's gonna keep on growing, okay, and it's gonna end up in some kind of result eventually. So 2018, we didn't hear that much about decentralized exchanges because the whole wake up of the whole industry started a lot at the end of 2017 when you had all these ICOs, and 2018 was sort of a phase where stuff is being worked on in the background. And I really started to see 2019, we really started to see a lot of things started to roll out. And just a few months, we're 4 months into 2019, I've seen so many new helpful tools, so many new helpful websites, so many new helpful projects that are coming out that people didn't have access to in the past. One of the big aspects in how I see the world is going to change is with EOS, for example, how it's as an operating system, and how it's going to work the new internet eventually is you are sort of almost the operating system. So no more create accounts, just log in with an EOS account or people building all that sort of code, and it just makes everything more frictionless. It just makes everything more easy. And I think that decentralized exchanges eventually is probably going to 10x this industry, and that is just looking at it from the low side. And I'm not a financial advisor, but yeah, it's going to transform every single industry, because I don't really see any industry that any industry is going to lose out, because eventually it's going to be more value flow. It's going to be more value flow. People that basically spend time derping around before, why not make it so they can derp around and have access? Because this whole world is basically about access. That is the main value. Access to tokens, access to blockchains, access to goods and services. Why does a person want tokens? Because it gives them access to something that they want. And we're trying to shift this whole industry into be more utility-based. Bancor protocol and the Bancor services that they provide is pretty big in terms of paradigm shifting and how it makes it easier to shift between tokens. And it's something that we also saw with block trades. If you just make people's life easier, if you just give them the tools so they can transfer value from one token to another, that is massive value. So it's going to be interesting to see this roll out. How I envision this eventually is one DEX to rule them all, or like one decentralized place where you can do everything instantly from your phone. You might not even need a phone interface eventually. You might even be able to do this by using a voice assistant. You're probably going to be able to do that. Eventually, we're probably just going to use voice to shift value around, or whatever it is that we want to do. But it's going to be interesting, because eventually then a person doesn't even need a device. Another big thing that I noticed is if you would be able to make it so operating systems on phones, right now it's kind of closed, and that's also what kind of slows down a lot of innovation, but eventually it's probably going to open up a lot. And when everyone can, when we get even decentralized operating systems, it's going to take a few more years for that, but I think it's eventually going to become a reality. Decentralized operating systems and decentralized apps that a person uses, that every single app is like decentralized. When that happens, that's really when how people are viewing things are going to transform completely, I think. And it's not that the old things doesn't work anymore. I mean, we can still use it, but if something is just saves more time and energy, it's it makes it pretty obvious that that is what we should use. So the future is kind of interesting, it's super interesting actually. And what a person I think should try to do is just try to use some utility-based token on a daily basis, just to get it as a routine. Because in the long-term aspect, I don't think a day is gonna matter that much, but I think it's more about the shift to use more value-based services. That's going to be the main paradigm shift. Because even if a person can save in a few seconds a day on a task that they're doing, they're freeing up massive amounts of time, so they can do whatever it is they feel like. So I'm quite excited about this year opening it up for DEX, decentralized exchanges. A big challenge is going to be, I mean, it's still going to take years before the herd is going to come, so to say. So the challenge after these services are out, the challenges is going to be to make the shift where people are just using services that gives maximum value to people. And I think it can happen also fairly quick, and that switch can happen fairly quick, because if some people start to see massive value, then it can spread rather quickly. And it's going to be exciting to see how phones are going to shift eventually, because right now we're using tons of apps. I think eventually we're going to strive towards a few apps, and one app can do more tasks, so there's no need to have thousands of apps. So the future is kind of exciting. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, many of these years are used to build years of this new digital value shift. So first we have the internet with information. That was really big, that distributing information to the masses, the information internet. And now we're in the value internet. And we can say we're in 1995 compared to digital information, and that's going to take around another 5 years to sort of make people's awareness increase, and it is quite exciting. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to this industry, decentralized exchanges, see what kind of blockchain projects that are going to succeed the most. There's a lot of habits a person do right now that just feels like a waste of energy. For example, there's a lot of shifting between tabs back and forth all the time. I think a lot of this is going to change. And the cool thing with the digital competition is that we shift pretty fast between projects, because some projects have team members that are more hungry and they basically innovate faster. So quite interesting time. So yeah, it's gonna be some cool years coming up. Have a great day, YouTube. Have a great day, Steam.